Okay folks, welcome to this second People's Town Hall on the TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership. We're holding these town hall meetings to express our opinion about a very important issue that is soon to come before the Congress, possibly during the lame duck vote after the election and before the inauguration. So we're wanting to get as much input to our local Congressman Jared Polis as possible. The reason why we're holding a People's Town Hall meeting is that Mr. Polis has failed to hold any town hall meetings in Boulder for about 2 years. He doesn't seem interested in hearing from his constituents, or at least his base, about this particular issue. He's been holding campaign events around the district, but keeping the location of those events under wraps. So we have decided that we need to make our presence known. What the town hall will be is that the way we'll organize it is that everybody gets 3 minutes to talk about their perspective on the Trans-Pacific Partnership. We will be recording everybody's statement. If you don't want your statement recorded on video, please let us know beforehand so we can turn off the camera. We will then put together a compilation of the testimonies, statements made by citizens, and provide that to Mr. Polis and to the press, and we will be posting it on YouTube, on the internet. So we're hoping to get the word out as much as possible. Much of this is to help inform the public. Anybody that observes what we're doing here will get some information that by and large has been absent from the mainstream media. This event's being put on by 5 organizations. They are the Rocky Mountain Peace and Justice Center, 350.org Colorado, Food and Water Watch, Colorado Community Rights Network, and the Indian Peaks group of the Sierra Club. Just before we start, I'm representing the Indian Peaks group of the Sierra Club for this thing, so I'd like to just make a brief statement and then we can get started with our people. By the way, if you want to speak, please sign up on the list. We will have a timekeeper and a little bell that will ring when we're 30 seconds, when you have 30 seconds to go in your statement, so you can wrap it up and let the next person speak. Regarding the Sierra Club's position on the TPP is unequivocally opposed. They see the TPP as a grave threat to the natural environment and to any policies that might be promulgated at the national, state, or local level to prevent further environmental degradation. Even more important, the TPP is a threat to effective climate action. Effective climate action is going to require a lot of change by corporations and by people, and some of those changes are going to affect corporate profits and so forth. The TPP enables corporations to sue governments for actions by government at any level that impinges upon their profitability, and these suits go to a unelected supranational tribunal where they're adjudicated in a sort of a ad hoc fashion to determine whether any particular law, regulation, rule violates the Trans-Pacific Partnership or violates so-called free trade or the ability of corporations to invest. So the potential exists for corporations to really put a roadblock into any environmental policy that might might move us away from fossil fuels and in the direction of a different kind of energy infrastructure that we might consider to be more sustainable. Just an example of this kind of challenge that to environmental policy. You might recall that recently President Obama nixed the KXL tar sands pipeline that was to pass from Canada down to ports in the United States to ship tar sands, bitumen, which is the dirtiest fossil fuel ever mined in the history of humankind. And when he stopped that, TransCanada Corporation, it's a Canadian corporation, used the tribunal system made available by the North American Free Trade Agreement, or NAFTA, to sue the United States for $15 billion. Well, this thing just happened. It's going to take about 18 months for it to go through, but the $15 billion represents the $3 billion investment that they were going to make, plus another $12 billion worth of profits they expected to make. So the United States is actually being sued based on future expected profits of a corporation. And this can happen over and over again. The treaty will greatly increase the United States' exposure to such suits. And in the Sierra Club, we're particularly worried about this getting in the way of effective public policy regarding the environment and climate disruption. So, Jared, the Sierra Club endorsed you for your position based on the belief that you would support environmental causes that will lead us toward a sustainable future. Yet you support the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which would be a roadblock in front of any progress that we might make. So which is it, Jared? Are you going to support environmental quality, or are you going to support corporations who don't care about environmental quality when it comes to their profitability? You can't have it both ways. If you're for the environment, you're against the Trans-Pacific Partnership. It's that simple. With that, I'd like to invite our first speaker up. Who might that be? All right, and you can announce your name and just make your statement. Thank you.
I'm Alan Gallagher. I live in Louisville, Colorado. I've been a Democrat for a long time here, and I supported Polis in the previous election, but I'm not supporting him in this one because of his position on the TPP, where he's already voted for fast tracking. What is my objection to the TPP? Well, it was really drawn up by corporate CEOs to the advantage and purpose of making the most money possible for stockholders, CEOs, corporations, and without any concern about the rights of individuals. It's my understanding that labor and environmental representation was not in existence when these things were drawn up, or I'm sorry, were not invited to be part of the process, and the process has clearly rejected all of those values. And especially for Jared Polis, who represents Boulder County, it seems totally out of line to take this kind of position against what you might call the 99%. And all of the facts of the TPP have been well presented. I understand those, and you do too. I think the important thing to know is how much it fails to represent your constituents to vote for the TPP. Thank you.
Okay, next, Abres Ernest.
Amber?
Oh, I couldn't read it. Amber Ernest, sorry.
Abres. That's lovely.
Yeah, that's a nice name.
It does make my name sound better. Okay, I'm against the TPP because I think corporations have enough power as it is. As soon as the TPP goes into effect, then corporations can sue governments for trying to protect their people and the environment from things that will affect our health and the health of the planet. And everything else has already been said, so that's pretty much it.
Thanks, Amber. Thank you, Amber. Okay, anybody else would like to speak? Carolyn, you're next then.
I wanted to let people know how you can help us in the fight against the TPP. There is a good chance that there will be a vote on this in the lame duck session that's coming up after the election. And you know, as you probably know, we've been trying to get Congressman Polis for 2 years to come out against the TPP. And so we just have to keep that up. I don't know what our success will be, but this agreement is so egregious and will really create a whole new structure of power for the multinational corporations. It's really hard to imagine what the long-term effects of this will be, other than just total corporate rule. That's why our sign says total plunder by plutocrats. I mean, this is such a huge power grab. And I think we really need to fight with that in mind, with the knowledge that this is such a huge shift, tectonic shift in power, that we need to fight it on that level. So we will be, we've been trying to get Congressman Polis to have a town meeting, as Ken said, and he just won't do it. And so we really want to keep up our efforts in the next a couple of months, at least the next couple of months, to try and get him to change his position. We have a sign-in sheet which I'll pass around, which will, you know, is for the Rocky Mountain Peace and Justice Center, and we will be sending you then announcements of upcoming events. We know that we have an event for delivering letters to Congressman Polis sometime in the next probably 3 weeks. And we're going to ask everybody to write a letter. It doesn't have to be long. It can be short with your name and address, a handwritten letter, which can be delivered with the hundreds of other letters that we're going to have from Food and Water Watch. And we'll also let you know about any other activities that we have. And please let your friends and your relatives know about the TPP. And, you know, if you want to tweet them and tell them to come down and join us today and get their statement out, we would really appreciate that as well. I also have a flyer here which I'm going to hand out with some talking points on it. And then just want to announce that we're also, the Peace Center is having an event on U.S.-NATO conflict with Russia and the dangers of nuclear war, and that's this Tuesday, and I'll hand that out to people. Okay, so I'm going to hand around some paper, and if you don't have to write a long letter, just 2 or 3 sentences expressing your concern to Polis. Thank you. Also, we do have a meeting every Wednesday night for anyone that's interested in joining us, and you can let me know if you are. Thanks.
I'd like to add a couple other things that folks can do on a fairly regular basis to both educate the public and to put a little more pressure on Mr. Polis, and that is to contact his office via email or phone on a regular basis, once a week. Come up with a different reason why you oppose the TPP. There's so many reasons I can't hardly count them. And I'm more than happy to help anybody come up with ideas. Also, writing letters to the editor is a real powerful way of doing it. As you know, we don't have access to television. We don't have much radio. Our main avenue of communicating with the people is through the print media in your local community. Daily Camera's pretty good about printing letters. They need to be 300 words or fewer. The Boulder Weekly is really good about printing letters, and 400 words or fewer is pretty much the safe number of words. Now, you can get a lot across in 100 or 200 words if you want, if that's all you want to do. But it really is important to get those letters in, because a lot of people see them, and also the people that read the print media are generally more active and influential in the community, and reaching them is an important thing as well. So contacting Polis, writing letters to the editor, talking to friends and neighbors when it seems right, when the issue comes up. And as far as sources of information, you can go to the Rocky Mountain Peace and Justice Center website to find links to information sources, but two of the main information sources that cover the gamut of issues are Public Citizen. That's just Public Citizen, that's just citizen.org/TPP. That's the web address, so you can reach it, and they've got an extensive website covering almost every aspect, and you can gain access to the actual text if you're interested. Also, the Sierra Club has an excellent analysis of the environmental impacts and the climate change impacts of potential impacts of the TPP. So with those two web sources, you can pretty much keep going for indefinitely on bringing up points in letters to the editor or communications to Mr. Polis. So I urge you to do that, and also to write a quick letter right here and now, just a couple of sentences that we can take to the letter delivery along with Food and Water Watch. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to the issue at this point? Okay, Isabel.
Hi, my name is Isabel Oliveira Morales, and I wasn't really going to speak, but I got a pad and I decided to write a letter to Jared Polis, so I want to read the letter that I'm going to give him. You are not representing your constituency when it comes to opposing the TPP. I like to take a broader view on an international perspective of trade agreements. Every trade agreement has resulted in loss of jobs, in the lowering of income, and in widening income inequality. The exploitation of workers here and abroad will continue under the TPP and will further advance with partner countries such as Malaysia. Malaysia, a country where present-day slave labor is alive and well and flourishing. Mexican immigrants have been particularly hard hit by trade agreements and have had to leave their country. Farmers have been forced off their land due to an inability to compete with subsidized U.S. produce. Mexicans have lost manufacturing jobs because of corporations, and are always corporations that are always on the hunt for cheaper textile markets. With the TPP, those markets will expand in Asia and continue the exploitation of Asian workers. The TPP is a corporate designed partnership in the interests of corporations at the expense of the world's 99%. Represent your constituents, not multinational corporations.
Yes. Very good, Isabel. Who else would like to come up and speak? Chris? Arn?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Anybody else want to speak to it? All right.
Sure. Hi everyone, thank you for coming out here. We're in front of Jared Polis' office, who still can't decide whether or not he wants to take a stand against the Trans-Pacific Partnership 24 hours after WikiLeaks released more emails about Hillary Clinton and what she has said, that she is in favor of free trade and that she believes Wall Street has a place in working with government. And instead what we're hearing about is Donald Trump. If we don't get people elected who are not taking special interest money, and Jared doesn't need special interest money, and he still hasn't come out against it. Michael Bennet came out against it, Hillary Clinton's come out against it, Bernie Sanders has come out against it. Bernie's the only one we could believe. We know Hillary's going to turn it around if she's elected, and we know that Bennett will change it if they just take out a sentence, a phrase, a word. So we have to stay. I want to say to Jared Polis, who I considered a friend, why can't you come out against the Trans-Pacific Partnership when on a beautiful, absolutely beautiful fall October day, your citizens, your constituents have come out here to be here to give a message that is going to help Americans. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Who would like to speak? Martha?
Well, I think Jared Polis is going to get sick of seeing these town hall talks, whether he listens to them or not, who's to say. But, you know, it's just the same effort to try to basically shame our supposed elected officials into doing the right thing. And why we have to do this on a beautiful day when we could be hiking in the beautiful mountains.
On the weekend.
On the weekend. And the fact that he has a deaf ear. He runs out of the League of Women Voters meeting where we're not allowed to say a word to him. He's like this bubble man that avoids any contact with his constituents. So this is how we get to talk to you, Jared. In any case, it's such an obvious thing that should happen, that the TPP is of benefit to the corporations, not to the 99%, and to the workers internationally. I mean, I feel like everybody loses out except for the 1% corporations, just like Citizens United. Thank you.
Who else would like to speak to this issue? Donna.
Hi, Jared. I met you in your living room at an environmental event, and I was glad to get to know you. I've always been your supporter, but because of this issue, I'm not sure if I can continue to be your supporter. When it comes to the environmental stuff, I care really a lot about our planet. I'm concerned about climate change, mass extinctions, but it's also become more personal. We have a lot of oil and gas development going on here, there, and everywhere around the world. There was a study that came out of CU that was just released yesterday. Our asthma rates in this area have gone up. Yeah. I am one of those people. I take medication every day because of it. The TPP would make it difficult for people to get generic drugs around the world. Poor people may lose access because of the way the patent laws work. People like me may die because of it. I also have the misfortune to have diabetes. It's a genetic thing. Go figure. And someday I might need insulin. If I were a poor person in a third world country, I might not be able to get generic insulin. I could die because of this trade policy. I beg you, do not vote for it. And if you vote for the TPP, you lose my vote for sure.
Very good. Who else would like to speak to this? Anybody else? Well, I have a little bit more to say. My name's Ken Bonetti. I didn't announce that earlier. I'm a resident of Boulder, and I actually campaigned for Jared 4 years ago. Well, more than 4 years ago, 6 years ago, when he first ran, and thought that he was going to represent his interests of the second district. And what I've found is that in a lot of ways he has represented our interests, but this particular issue seems to negate a lot of what he says he stands for. And what he does, he hides behind the idea that we need to have free trade. Well, by and large, we do have free trade. Vast majority of the commodities traded overseas do not face any significant tariffs. Only 6 chapters out of the 30 chapters of the TPP deal with actual trade issues, tariffs, subsidies, quotas, and the like, because that's a relatively minor issue now. The major part of the TPP is about corporate investment and government regulation, particularly around intellectual property, including drugs, but also copyrights and the internet. The idea is to open up investment to all corporations everywhere the TPP has jurisdiction, and that would be around the Pacific Rim, and the TPP is only the first of several trade agreements that eventually would encompass as much as 80% of the world economy and 80% of the world economic activity. But the point is to open of a TPP and the so-called investor state dispute settlement tribunals is to brush aside local government, state government, national government in favor of freedom of corporations to invest in whatever they want, under whatever conditions they feel they want, and to avoid all the ancillary or third-party costs, such as preventing pollution, protecting public health, protecting consumer product safety, and providing workers with decent pay, decent benefits, and some rights in the workplace. They want to be free to do whatever they want, anywhere they want, without hindrance of government. This is, as Carolyn mentioned earlier, a takeover by the corporations of the global economy, and the shunting aside of the democratic process, and the shunting aside of local, state, and national self-determination. It's a much bigger issue than he's making it out to be. It's not about trade, it's about the freedom of corporations to exploit all of us, resources, and labor around the world. Thank you.
I'll go again if no one wants to go. I'll go again if no one else.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, thank you. Okay. I have a bunch of stuff that's
Okay, so someone else read their letter, so I'll go ahead and read mine because I'm better at putting my thoughts together on paper than actually just speaking off the cuff. Jared Polis, I actually thought you were going to be here at the People's Town Hall, and I was so happy about it and proud. Then I got here and we're not even inside Town Hall in the parking lot. So here's my problem. I'm sick of money in politics, which makes our representatives represent corporations instead of we the people. Sea levels are rising 10 feet by 2050. There are 4 nuclear plants in the United States within that 10 feet. We're going to have 4 more Fukushimas, but here. How many people live within that 10 feet? If you think there's a refugee problem now, just wait. I'm not going to have any kids, but I fear for the next generations. Someone said that my generation is the first to see the effects of climate change and the last to be able to do something about it. This is me doing something about it. Climate change needs to be addressed now. If the TPP passes, then it's signing everybody's death certificates, including the planet's.
Thank you, Amber. Anyone else? All right.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Laura Avant. I come from Denver, where I have worked on the TPP for about 3 years now. I have many speeches that I've delivered, but I wanted to read you just my little short letter to the editor that was published in the Park Hill News, because we're having so much trouble with Perlmutter, Polis, and DeGette refusing to say where they stand on the TPP. So here's my little letter to the editor. I have joined with other activists to protest the TPP for nearly 3 years now. I consider it the most damaging piece of legislation to be foisted on the American public in decades. The damage it would do to every sector of our national economy and our freedom is so great that it had to be kept secret for several years. The 600 multinational corporations who wrote it still want us to remain ignorant of its dangers. As Johnny Rabbit of the Flowbot said in January's Greater Park Hill News and at the Rock Against the TPP, an informed electorate, uninformed electorate can be duped. A disengaged electorate can be ignored, but an engaged, informed electorate can determine the path that its leaders must take. We are now informed, and we find it incomprehensible that any elected representative would have such an indifference for the nation and its people that they would hesitate to oppose it. Briefly, it would allow corporations to violate all their laws, all of our laws that don't promote their profits. Then they could sue us for even having them under a process called investor-state dispute settlement. Since the tribunal that makes the decisions would be composed of corporate executives, they would and do rule against countries with no recourse to a higher court. Yet, after many demonstrations, petitions, letters of opposition, hundreds of scholarly articles, global resistance, and the petitions that Rock Against the TPP concert tenders had delivered, Representatives DeGette, Perlmutter, and Polis claimed to be undecided as to their decision should the TPP come for a vote. Call them and tell them to announce their opposition to the TPP or be opposed by their constituents. And let me add, be known as traitors.
Yes, yeah.
Very good, very good. Anyone else like to speak to this for Mr. Polis?
Lynn Siegel. I just wonder if Jared is doing this for political expediency, then what could be more important than the Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership? And later on, when he is a higher representative, if he goes for president or something else, then what can we expect if he's voting this way now? And he should have known from the start. We shouldn't have to come out here and be dragging him to the truth.
I'm sorry.
Anyone else like to have a shot at it? Let's say something to Jared, okay? All right, James. Thank you.
Good afternoon, folks. My name is James Duncan, and I customized this Black Lives Matter shirt because in honor of the Indigenous, where Colorado just made the legislation to change Columbus Day to Indigenous Day. This was done in Denver. The City Council is passing that resolution. So I hope that's clear about why the Black Lives Matter is a little red. So congratulations, Denver. Well done. Jared, I just urge you to vote no on that TPP. And one thing I'd really like for us to do is have you come out, just state your position, it's just too long. It's you can't go on wobbling on the fence. It's time to establish a position. You can say yes to the TPP, you know, and we need you to make a decision. You can say yes, and know that what's going to happen is that the consequences will fall, because the people need to know where you stand. If you keep hiding, if you keep in the shadows on this, if you keep on the fence, then your answer to us is definitely yes. So that's what I'd like to have you come out. Make sure that you make that decision. Just as everybody else was saying, I want to iterate it as well too, that this TPP is a corporate coup d'etat. It's a Bill of Rights for the corporations, and those corporations are vehicles for the wealth to the ruling class. So Jared, it's not even the corporate CEOs. It's the ruling class that has all their money just siphoned out of the pockets of the American people. So thanks, Jared, and do the right thing.
All right, Jared, you've heard from some of your constituents, many of whom supported you in the past, are wondering about you from now into the future. We're asking you, vote against the TPP. Don't vote for the corporations, vote for the people. Don't vote for the corporations, vote for the people. Thank you.